It's Mindset Monday, and welcome to the Bad Influence Podcast with yours truly, Jordan Banderas. Listen to what I must tell you today because this can change the way you see your hustle for the better. The most productive looking people are often the ones furthest from actually being in what they're doing. The culture sold you a lie about urgency. And you bought it because everyone around you bought it because the whole system was built on it. The lie goes like this: urgency means doing more, moving faster, maximizing every unit of time, staying in motion from the alarm until the pillow. It looks like the pack calendar. It looks like the constant switching between tasks. It looks like answering the message while you're in the meeting, planning the next thing while you're finishing the current one, processing the day while you're supposedly present with the people who needed you. And the culture gave that a name. It called it hustle. It called it drive. It called it high performance. And you called it yours. You absorbed it so completely, it stopped feeling like an external standard and started feeling like your own ambition, like the natural expression of how much you care. But here's what the culture never told you: you can be in motion every hour of every day and give nothing of yourself to any of it. You can produce volume without ever producing depth. You can be busy from the moment you open your eyes until the moment you close them and still be completely absent from your own life. And the results will show it. Not immediately, not in the metrics that get measured, but in the quality, in the weight, in the specific difference between work that came from someone fully in it and work that came from someone moving through it. You know, this is true. So I want you to be honest right now. When was the last time you were completely in something? Not partially. Not with one eye on what's next or what's missing or what still needs handling. Completely. In the work, in the conversation, in the moment that was actually happening in front of you. You're reaching back further than you expected. And that distance between now and the last time you were fully present inside something is not a productivity problem. It is the exact cause of the lie you were sold about urgency. The lie that said faster means better. The lie that said more means more. The lie that said presence is a luxury and motion is the standard. And you've been living inside that lie so long, it started to feel like the truth about who you are. Well, it isn't. It's the conditioning running where your full capacity was supposed to be. And today, we take the capacity back. Oh, yes, we do. Because here's the thing. The conditioning didn't come from one person. It didn't come from a single moment you can point to and say, that's where it started. It came from everywhere, simultaneously, continuously. It's starting before you were old enough to question what was being installed. Think about what the algorithm taught you about time. Not explicitly, through repetition, through what it rewarded and what it buried. The platform that showed you a highlight reel of other people's output, the book finish, the business launch, the morning routine executed at 5 in the morning while you were still asleep. And the implicit message underneath every single post: you're not moving fast enough. You're not doing enough. Your pace is the reason the gap between where you are and where you want to be keeps existing. And you scrolled it, absorbed it. Let it recalibrate your sense of what normal effort looks like until your own pace, whatever was genuine and sustainable, it started feeling like laziness. Until presence, it started feeling like falling behind. Until the only version of work that felt legitimate was the version that looked like more. More tabs open, more tasks running simultaneously, more evidence of motion to justify the time spent. And the quality of what that motion produced, the depth of attention it brought to anything, it stopped being the measure. Because the algorithm doesn't measure depth. It measures output, frequency, consistency of production. And you started measuring yourself the same exact way. Not because you decided to, because the system was so total and so constant that its metrics became your metrics before you noticed the replacement had occurred. Think about that. And think about what the replacement cost your attention, your real attention, the kind that goes all the way into something and stays there until something is actually done. That requires a specific quality of stillness, not physical stillness, mental stillness. The capacity to be inside one thing completely without the pull toward the next thing, constantly competing for the same bandwidth. And the algorithm spent years training that capacity out of you. Every notification was a small interruption that rewarded the interruption itself. Every new piece of content was a pattern interrupt that taught the brain, this is normal. This is how attention works. The shift is the point. Until your baseline for focus became a moving target. Until sustained engagement with a single thing started feeling uncomfortable rather than productive. Until the restlessness, the constant low-grade pull toward the next stimulus became so ambient, you stopped registering it as unusual. It just felt like how you are. But it is not how you are. It is what you were conditioned to become by a system that profits from your fragmented attention. And the fragmentation has a cost that the system never discloses. Yes, it does. Now, let's be precise about the mechanism. The algorithm didn't just shorten your attention span. It rewired what productivity feels like in the body. It trained you to associate the sensation of switching, the dopamine release of a new stimulus, a new task, a new piece of information, with the feeling of getting things done. So now, motion feels like progress even when nothing is being completed. Switching feels like efficiency even when the switching is the obstacle. Busyness feels like urgency even when it is the precise opposite of what urgency actually requires. And genuine presence, the stillness of being fully inside one thing, feels like falling behind. Because the system trained you to distrust stillness, to treat it as a gap in productivity rather than the condition that makes real productivity possible. That training was thorough. It ran every day, multiple times a day, across every platform you open, and it never identified itself as training. It called itself connection, called itself information, called itself staying current. And you stay current right into a pattern of attention that is working against everything you say you want to build. Think about that. Here's what none of this makes you. It does not make you weak for having absorbed it. And I want you to understand that. It does not make you lazy for having let it run. Everyone in the same environment absorbed the same conditioning. The difference is not who got conditioned. It is who finally decides to see it clearly enough to build something different on the other side of the scene. And the scene starts here. The restlessness you feel, the inability to be fully inside one thing, that is not your natural state. It is a trained state. And trained states, unlike character, can be retrained. Not overnight, not with a real effort, but genuinely, permanently, into something that actually serves the life you're trying to build. The algorithm conditioned you for its purposes. Oh, yes, it did. What you build from here, you condition for yours. Let's talk about what the restlessness actually feels like. Not the concept of it, the physical experience. Because this pattern doesn't just live in your habits, it lives in your body. So feel it right now. The pull that exists even in this moment toward the phone, toward the next task, toward anything that will give the restlessness somewhere to go. It doesn't have a name. It rarely does. It just won't let you sit still. Not physically, mentally. The mind that is already 3 steps ahead of whatever your hands are currently doing. Already in the next conversation before this one is finished. Already planning the response before the question has fully landed. Already somewhere else while the thing that actually matters is right here. That is not ambition. That is a nervous system that was trained to treat a stillness as a threat. And the cause of that training shows up everywhere the stillness was supposed to live. Think about that. Think about what a work session actually feels like now. Not the first 10 minutes, the middle. When the initial energy has settled and the real work is asking something deeper of you. What happens in your body in that moment? The pull arrives. Oh, yes, it does. Quiet at first, then louder. The inbox that suddenly feels urgent. The idea that needs to be noted immediately. The completely unrelated thing that surfaces and somehow seems important enough to interrupt the thing you were actually doing. And you follow it. Not because you decided to, because the restlessness found its exit and the nervous system followed the familiar path. And when you come back, if you come back, the depth of the previous thread is gone. You're starting from the surface again every single time you do this. Think about what that costs over the course of a day. Not the minutes lost to the switching, the depth loss. Because depth is not available in fragments. It requires sustained presence, the specific kind that only develops when you stay inside something long enough for the surface layer to exhaust itself and the real work to begin underneath it. The algorithm trained you to leave before that happens every single time, which means the best version of your own thinking, the insights, the connections, the work that will have surprised even you, rarely gets access because you leave before you get there. Yes, you do. I've done this and I see a lot of people do this right now. So feel the constant switching. Feel what the constant switching does to your energy by midday. Yeah, just feel it. Not tired from effort, tired from fragmentation. The specific depletion of a mind that has been asked to start and stop and start again so many times that nothing ever reached completion. That depletion is different from the clean exhaustion of having given everything to something real. Clean exhaustion feels like done. Fragmentation exhaustion feels like behind. Like you did a lot and finished nothing. Like the day happened but didn't produce anything solid enough to hold. And you ended reaching for the screen again. Not for information, but for the sensation of motion that has become the substitute for the satisfaction that real presence would have provided. That substitution is the deepest cause, not the loss of productivity, the lost experience of your own life, the conversations you were in but not present for, the work that had your time but not your attention, the moments that passed while you were already somewhere else. All of it adding up to a life that is technically happening and experientially thin. So let's hold the mirror up, all the way up. Yes, all the way up. Because this is where we look at what the fragmented attention has actually been taking from you. Not the time, the life inside the time. So let's start with the work. The thing you've been building, the pursuit that is supposed to matter. How much of it has gotten your complete presence? Good question, right? I'm not talking about your hours. I'm talking about your everything. The full, undivided, nothing competing for the same bandwidth version of your attention applied completely. Without the pull, without the switching, without the part of your mind already somewhere else. Be honest about that number. Because the gap between what you produce and what full presence will have produced, that gap is real. And it's not visible in the output count. No, it is not. It's visible in the depth of the output, in the work that fell thin after it was finished, in the sessions that produce volume without producing anything that surprised you, in the creeping sense that you're capable of more than what's been coming out, without being able to name exactly what's missing. What's missing is you, fully in it. You know I'm right. Now, look at the shadow this pattern is casting on your identity. The shadow has a specific shape. It is the shape of someone who mistakes motion for commitment, who feels time as a substitute for occupying it, who has learned to perform urgency so convincingly that the performance replaced the real thing without anyone, including you, noticing the switch. And the shadow grows each year. The pattern runs unchallenged. Each year, the real version of your attention, the sustained, complete, goes all the way in version, gets harder to access. Not because the capacity disappeared, because the muscle hasn't been used, and muscles that go unused don't stay the same. They weaken. Oh, yes, they do, and you know this, because the capacity for deep presence is a muscle. And yours has been getting weaker while the restlessness has been getting stronger. Oh, yeah. I bet that hit a nerve. Now, look at the people in your life. The ones who have conversations with you that you're only partially in. They feel the partial presence even when they don't name it. Oh, yes, they do. They feel themselves reaching for a version of your attention that doesn't quite arrive. Probably you've seen it with yourself or you've seen it with somebody else. And over time, gradually, without announcement, they stop reaching as far. They calibrate their expectations to the version of you that actually shows up. Not the version you intend to be, the version that does. And the version that does has been distracted, has been elsewhere, has been present in the technical sense while being genuinely absent in the way that matters. That calibration has a cause neither of you discusses, but both of you feel it as a distance that shouldn't be there between people who care about each other. hmm Now look at the moments that don't come back. Not the dramatic ones, the ordinary ones. The conversation that could have gone somewhere real if you'd been fully in it. The work session that could have broken through to something new if you'd stayed inside it instead of following the pull. The moment with someone who needed your complete attention, not your divided attention, your complete attention, that passed while part of you was somewhere else. Those moments are gone, not as punishment, just as the natural consequence of presence being elsewhere when they happen. And they accumulate into something larger than any single missed moment. They accumulate into a life that you were technically present for and experientially absent from. A life that happened to you rather than one you inhabited. And this is true. This is so true. So now, look at what the restlessness produces when left unchallenged long enough. A version of you that can no longer trust your own assessment of your effort because you've been busy, genuinely busy. And the busyness has felt like enough. But enough and actually in it are not the same standard. And when the standard has been lowered long enough without acknowledgement, you lose the reference point for what it feels like to be fully present in your own work. You forget what complete engagement actually produces. Not because you've never experienced it, because it's been long enough since you have that the memory has faded into something theoretical. Something you know intellectually was once available but can no longer access viscerally. And that forgetting is the most expensive thing the conditioning stole. Not your time, your standard for what your own attention is worth. Oh, yeah. Think about what you're building toward. The version of the life you're working for. The thing that is supposed to justify the effort. And ask honestly, is the person you're becoming through this pattern of fragmented attention the person capable of sustaining what you're trying to build? Because what gets built can only be sustained by someone who knows how to be fully in something. Who can hold their attention inside difficulty without reaching for the exit. Who can stay when the staying is the whole job. And the pattern has been training you for the opposite of that. Training you to leave, to switch, to reach for the next thing before the current one is complete. That is not the person the life you want requires. And the gap between who that life requires and who this pattern is producing, that gap is widening. Quietly, incrementally, without drama. Just the slow divergence of two trajectories that started close together and have been moving apart ever since the pattern went unchallenged. Look at that divergence clearly. Not with self-punishment, with honest accounting. Because honest accounting is the only thing that produces real change. And the accounting says the pattern has been running the life that was supposed to be yours to run. The restlessness has had the floor long enough. And what it has built in the time it's held it is not what you came here to build. No, it is not. So now we build something real. Not a productivity system, not a new schedule, a different relationship with your own attention. Because the shift that changes everything is not about doing less. It is about being more fully inside what you do. And that shift, it starts with one honest reframe. Urgency is not speed. Urgency is the understanding that this moment, this specific, unrepeatable, already passing moment, deserves everything you have while you're in it. Not everything spread across 12 things. Everything here, now, in this one. That is a completely different standard than the one the algorithm installed. And it produces completely different results. Because a person who gives everything to what they're in, who stays inside it until it's actually finished, who resists the pull until the real work surfaces, that person produces things that the fragmented version never could. Not more things, better ones. Things with weight, things with depth, things that carry the specific density of something built by someone who was actually present when it got made. Now, let's talk about what rebuilding this capacity actually requires. Because this is why I went through. And it is not complicated. It is demanding. Oh yeah, so be prepared. Because it requires choosing discomfort over the familiar relief of the switch. Every time the restlessness arrives, and it will arrive, because the conditioning is real, and it doesn't disappear because you named it, you notice it before you follow it. You feel the pull, you name it internally. That is the train pattern reaching for its exit. And then you stay. Not forever, for the next 5 minutes. And then the 5 minutes after that, building the capacity back the same way it was taken, incrementally, through repetition, one choice at a time. Each time you stay inside something instead of switching, the nervous system receives new data. Presence is survivable. Stillness is not falling behind. Depth is what was actually missing. And over time, not quickly, but genuinely, the baseline shifts. The restlessness loses some of its authority. The pull becomes something you notice rather than something you automatically follow. And the work, the actual work, done with full attention, begins to produce what it was always capable of producing when you were actually in it. Oh, yes. Now, let's talk about what the full presence produces in your relationships. When you are completely in a conversation, not managing the next thing, not processing the previous one, just fully there, the person across from you feels it immediately. Not as a technique, as a fact of human connection. Full presence is felt before it's understood. And what it produces in the people who receive it is not complicated. No, it truly is not. Because they feel seen, they feel reached, they feel the specific quality of being with someone who is actually with them. And they respond by going deeper than they would with the distracted version. The conversations that actually matter, the ones that change something, only happen in the space that full presence creates. And you've been keeping that space unavailable. And look, I'm not attacking you because this is not done maliciously, but it's done through the conditioning. But the conditioning ends where the decision begins. And the decision is available right now. Now, let's talk about the work itself. Think about think about the last time you were completely inside something you were building. No switching, no monitoring, just the work and your full attention moving through it. Remember what that felt like in the body? Not the restlessness, the opposite of it, the specific quality of being fully used by something that deserves to use you. Oh, that feels amazing, to be honest. The sense that was the sense that what was coming out was actually connected to what you're capable of rather than the divided fragment of it that usually gets the floor. That experience is not gone. It is available every time you choose presence over motion. Every time you close the tabs, silence the notifications, and give the thing in front of you the full weight of your attention for long enough to actually get somewhere. That somewhere is where the real work lives. And it's been waiting for you to show up completely. Yes, it has. And now, here is your standard from this moment forward. When you sit down to work, you work. One thing, full attention, until it reaches a natural stopping point or until the time you committed to it is genuinely spent. Not perform, is spent. When you are in a conversation, you are in it. Not managing what comes next, not processing what just happened. Present to the person in front of you with the full weight of your attention for the full duration of the exchange. And when the restlessness arrives, because it will, you treat it as information rather than instruction. It is the conditioned pattern reaching for its exit. You acknowledge it. You return to what you were in. That is the practice. Repeated, unglamorous, completely transformative over time. Because the person who can give everything to what they're in, who has rebuilt the capacity for real presence after the algorithm spent years fragmenting it, that person operates at a level the distracted version never accesses. Their work carries more weight. Their relationships go deeper. Their days end with the specific satisfaction of having been fully alive inside what happened rather than efficiently adjacent to it. That satisfaction is not a small thing. It is what your life is supposed to feel like. And it is available every day you choose presence over motion. Every day you give the moment what the moment actually deserves. Not your fragments, your everything. You need to give it everything. Think about what this compounds into across a year. A year of full presence in the work, the depth that accumulates, the breakthroughs that become possible when you stay inside something long enough to reach them. A year of full presence in the relationships, the conversations that actually happened, the connections that actually deepened, the people who felt genuinely received rather than efficiently processed. A year of days that ended with done rather than behind. That year is available. Oh, yes, it is. But it starts with the next thing you sit down to do. And the decision you make about how much of yourself it gets, all of it. Or the fragmented version, the urgent version, or the busy version, the one that gives everything, or the one that gives what's left after the switching. That decision is made in the ordinary moment, not the dramatic one. In the moment the pull arrives and you notice it and choose to stay anyway. That moment is the whole game. And you are already becoming the person who makes that choice because you're here. You stayed through this. You gave this your attention when the pull was available the whole time. Yes, it was. And if something, yes, and if something in this episode interrupted the pattern long enough for you to feel what full presence actually is, come back Monday, come back Wednesday, come back Friday. Hit that subscribe button and stay in this work, because what we're building here requires showing up completely every single week. And the episodes you miss are the ones that will have shifted something real. Here is what is true about urgency. It was never about the clock. It was always about the quality of what you bring to the time while you have it. Speed is a measure of motion. Urgency is a measure of presence. And the most urgent thing you can do is stop fragmenting the attention that was always the whole point. You were not built to skim your own life. You were built to be in it, fully, completely, with everything you have for as long as you have it. The restlessness was installed. It is not your nature. Your nature is the focus that exists underneath it, waiting for the condition it requires to surface. That condition is your decision to stay. Just stay. Inside the work, inside the conversation, inside the moment that is actually happening in front of you. Long enough for the real thing to begin. Because the real thing never begins in the first layer. It begins where most people have already left. And when you finally stay long enough to reach it, you will understand why everything built from the surface always felt like it was missing something. It was missing you, the full version, the one that gives everything to what's in. That version doesn't move faster. No, it doesn't. It goes deeper. And deeper is where everything worth building actually lives. Not in the speed, in the staying. Not in the volume, in the presence. Not in the motion, in the complete, unhurried, fully inhabited act of being entirely where you are. That is urgency. That is what it was always supposed to mean. Oh, yeah. And you have to remember this. Urgency is not the same as motion. Because once you understand the difference, and you can actually apply what we just talked about to your life, you're going to start building things that you never thought were possible. And that's what matters. But ultimately, you have to remember this as well. The choice is yours.